Hello everyone and welcome back to City Sowers. We are here today with several little fluffy friends. This is Arthur. He is our adult male Rex rabbit, and this is his son in his very first litter.
This is Jojo.
Jojo. So we have Jojo, Mojo, Chunky Bunny. We got all these awesome little bunnies. 4 of them have found new homes. However, we are getting to the point where in 1 week from today, the 3 that do not have their own homes will need to be put into a grow out cage because they're going to start the weaning process. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to take you on the little journey of how to build a rabbit cage for a full-size Rex rabbit. We're specifically going to use something, a size that we're using for the females. It's going to be a 36 by 30, 20-inch tall cage. It's going to be the right size because, as you can see, very large rabbits, right? They're going to get 10 to 12 pounds. They're taller than the standard cages you'll see in a pet store. I guess the point is, what you see in a pet store usually is about 16 inches. So these taller, larger rabbits need something where they can stand up on their back feet and not hit their ears. Okay, so it's just going to make them a little more comfortable in their own little environment.
Now with a grow-out cage, they will not be reaching full size because typically you butcher before they're full grown. But if you have a cage big enough to house a full-grown rabbit, you might be able to house more than one smaller rabbit in it.
Right, so initially we're only going to have 3 going into the grow-out cages, and we are actually going to be continuing to find them homes if there's someone who wants pet rabbits. They're obviously tame, happy, wonderful pets. But they're also a meat breed, so if we are not able to find them a home, we'll end up butchering them and having rabbit stew. All that's a story for another day. Today, let's focus on building this. I'm going to give you a list of things you'll need if you were to build your own. We're going to start with 16 gauge 1-inch by 1/2 inch wiring. That's going to be the base of our whole cage, and then I'm going to tell you all the dimensions to cut, how to put it all together, and we're going to get started right now. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. See you later, Jojo.
Now one thing I did want to point out is the fact that Arthur and Jojo are technically the same color. They are both broken castor rabbits, but the color of brown on Jojo versus Arthur is actually very different. And it's interesting that this bunny is eventually going to be this color.
Exactly the same color.
Like when he has his molt, when he gets a little bit older, he's going to come in with this really rich, gorgeous, deep brown color. So right now it's kind of more of a mottled, kind of a grayish brown color. See if I can get him closer so you can see. Here, there's his little booty. Let's see, it's kind of more mottled, muted, and you can see even from this distance that beautiful rich brown color on Arthur. It's really deep, rich mahogany color. He's really pretty. So,
big boy. He could literally sit on my lap and his head could be up by my head. Big rabbits.
Yeah, and they're super sweet. So anyway, let's get David to work on those rabbit cages.
Here's what you're going to need to build this cage today. You're going to need 1.5 inch steel galvanized wiring. This fence wiring here is 1 inch by 1/2 inch, and we are always, and this is the really key thing that I've messed up building cages already, so I'm hoping that serves as a lesson for you. Always cut your wire so that's going up and down, and you'll see me do that, and I'll point it out again and again. It's important at the end that all the wires facing the same way so your dimensions line up. So make sure you have at least 36-inch wire. We bought a 100-foot roll because it was actually significantly cheaper, and we knew we'd be building a whole bunch of cages. The roll we have here still has plenty left, and obviously we have all the cages that you've seen built in our garage and what we usually have back on the back fence. Second of all, you're going to need some snippers, some cutters. First time through, I went ahead and used wire cutters. Just went all the way down to the bottom, or some snips of some sort. Just invest in a nice pair of clippers because you're going to need them a lot if you're doing multiple cages. You do galvanized roofing or projects such as that. A pair of cutters for that is going to suit you just fine. You're going to need a Sharpie to mark your cut lines as you go along, or some kind of felt marker. Once you get to the construction part, you're going to need a J-clip plier and a bag or 2 of J-clips. This is the second bag we've gone through. There's plenty in a bag. They usually come about 1,000 a piece, so you'll go through a couple hundred of them, I'm sure, during the building process. And of course, you can try to use the J-clips with just pliers, but the actual J-clip tool, it's like $12, but it'll save you so much headache Trust me, it's worth the investment if you're gonna go through the process of building your own custom cages. Finally, the last thing you'll need is a tape measure. You can get a fat boy, you can get a little boy. Either way, as long as it's got inches and you can get to 36, you'll be in good shape. I'm gonna give you a list of all the sizes, so go ahead and write this down. We'll put it up on the screen as well. You're gonna need two 36 by 30 pieces, okay? That's gonna be the front of your cage. For the two sides, you're gonna need 30 by 20 inch, two 30 by 20 inch side pieces. Remember, all of these need to go vertical, so the long piece goes up and down. Finally, two 36 by 20 pieces as well. So you got two 36 by 20, two 36 by 30, and two 30 by 20. And then finally, there's one other little piece, and we'll get to how to make the door and all that eventually, but it's just 15 by 15. And that one, once again, you're gonna wanna go up and down, but it's square. So, you know, you can cheat on that one. But anyway, we'll get cutting here, and let's do this. Hey, honey.
Yes.
Come here. They've probably already noticed this, but we actually matched today.
What? It was totally
orange.
by accident.
We're just big Giants fans. I think that's the takeaway here. Is that not it?
I just grabbed orange because it contrasted nicely with my pants. But
I grabbed orange because it was the literal top thing on my shelf. Didn't even think about the fashion aspect. There we go. Here, grab that end.
Great minds, right?
Great minds. Great minds.
Great minds think alike.
Oh, by the way, this wire, very heavy.
Yeah,
We won't keep you through all the cutting, but we'll tell you what we're doing as we go. So we're gonna start with 36 by 30. Two of those. The temptation when you have a 36-inch roll will be to save fencing by using the 36 going long, short ways, right? How much more can you get if you do it that way? I'm telling you, if you want a neater end product, just measure the 36 going long way, so you have these large squares going up and down. It's gonna save you a headache of having things not line up perfectly and having it be a little bit jimmied when you're trying to fit it in at the end. It'll be worth it. It'll create a nicer final product for you. So just a quick note, as you're going through all these cuts, you're gonna have leftover scraps. Don't just toss them out, as some of them are gonna be quite useful. For example, I cut this 36 by 20 inch wall. It's gonna be the front of the cage, right? But what goes on the front? The door. So the second piece, which is the smaller of the two, is actually 15 and some prongs. So what I'm gonna end up doing is cutting it my 15 by 15 foot piece or inch piece out of this leftovers. And then I'm not gonna throw this away, because what if I mess this up, or what if I need another piece? So just hold on to all your scraps until the end, and maybe at that point you could even make like a grass holder or some kind of other feature for the cage out of it. But we'll show you what we do, and then you can decide how you wanna spec out your cage as well. Okay, we're all done with the cutting. Fantastic. Sometimes it takes a little longer than you might expect. For me, it took a whole extra day, and there's a good reason for that. Yesterday, I started this project bright and early in the afternoon. It got hot, and we decided we were gonna run a very special errand. I'm not gonna tell you what that errand is. You'll find out very soon. But I got to pick it up today. Now, I do have to take a moment to say today is Amanda and my 12th wedding anniversary, and I'm just thrilled to be married to my lovely bride and to be doing projects with her and for her. So anyway, that's why I'm back at it today in a whole new outfit. No orange lovely shirts today. So now that you've completed the cutting, and I've completed the cutting, I just want to point out, I hope you can see this here, on the edges, some of those are not quite as clean and crisp as you might hope or expect or think happens when you take cutters to them. So you are going to have to go through and trim those edges so you don't have real sharp knobs or nips that'll hook your clothes and your fingers and your skin as you walk by your cage. So I'm just going to use some wire snips and cut these down just to as much of a tiny poke as I can get, because I really don't want to be pricked by this. This 15 by 15 door is going to end up having a guards along the edge, and I'll show you what that looks like. So not quite as important with the door, but all those edges of the cages and the roof and the bottom are definitely going to want to be trimmed to keep those pokes down a little bit as much as you can. Well, here we are. We are now inside, and it's time to put this cage together. All the pieces have been cut. We've given you the dimensions for that. I just used a little wire snips to clean up the edges. Obviously those larger cutters make the main cuts very easy, but you are going to want to make sure you use something just simple as needle nose with some wire cutters or some snips to just clean up the edges so you don't have just jagged points. The door is also important to do that because even though we're going to put a guard, so you don't a scratch guard on the edge of it, you still want to have it uniform. You don't want it to be pokey or ill-fitting. The next step is to put this thing together. The only thing you need from this point on are J-clips, which look like that. They look like little J's. I'll get you a little close-up of that. Some J-clip pliers that look like this. Amanda, would you like to show them what the J-clips look like so you can kind of take a look there? The first step for putting together the actual body of the cage, you slip the J-clip in, and I like to do it with the rounded piece of the J-clip itself on the single side of the pliers. So there's a double and a single, and so the rounded side goes on the single side. You line up your wire always facing vertical. We've talked about that already, how important that is. And what we've decided is, since we want the outside of the cage to have the vertical stripes, you want to make sure that, of course, they go horizontal and vertical. You want to make sure the wire is turned so that it is facing the outside. Right now, I'm doing the back of the cage first, and this is the floor. They're going to be basically going the same way. I'm going to move this to the edge of the counter because you'll see it's a little easier to use the J-clips if you have just a little overhang. And make sure I get them lined up again. Once you have your wire totally lined up, I gotta say that is the hardest part of the whole building process, just making sure you're lined up correctly. Because once you get the first few clips on, then you just add more. You're gonna wanna have clips about every 2 inches, so you're gonna go through a bunch of them. Your hands are gonna probably get crampy. Feel free to take a break. I like to turn on a movie or something. I've built 3 or 4 of these cages now. This will be number 5, and it's kind of therapeutic at some point. And you'll get better and better, so don't be discouraged if you pinch a J-clip and it goes all funky shaped and you have to rip it off. I'm keeping these needle nose pliers because I know I'm going to mess up 1 or 2 or put it in the wrong spot. So don't get irritated, just kind of expect it, and then I'm going to throw this thing together and show you what it looks like. The J-clip has been loaded into the J-clip pliers, and I'm going to put it into the first edge right here. Like I said, you want to have it hanging over just on the side. You're going to want to make sure for that first one that you catch both the wire pieces together. See, now they are connected by that J-clip. It just curls right around. It's aluminum, so it's not going to fight you a whole lot. Now, it doesn't really matter if this binds up on me or curls up on me, because as long as I pinch them together and make sure I stay lined up, I'll be in good shape. Just want to have your J-clips handy, and off to the races we go. I do every 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Click. 1, 2, 3, 4. Click. And like that, you have your first wall built. You kind of see it's a little bit wonky shaped. That wonkiness will kind of fall out of it as you put the rest of the framing together. The order I usually do this is back wall, then front wall. So I'm going to spin this whole thing and go about to the next one. And I have a method to my madness, specifically through trial and error, that when you put up other walls first, you get really wonky metal bending and you end up getting stabbed a lot. So humor me as I kind of show you the things that I made mistakes on in previous cage building adventures. And remember, this is building a 20-inch tall cage, so give yourself some space. It's going to be a big cage, so if you have a large island, floor space, a coffee table where you can really spread out, I have all my other pieces sitting off to the side so I can access it. We're kind of spoiled with the big island, but a floor works fine. I will caution you, if you have wood floors or laminate, this is kind of sharp. You might scratch a floor up, so throw some kind of tarp or painting tarp or plastic down so you're not scratching for floors. but you know, if that buffs out too, maybe we'll do a DIY on how to repair your mistakes from other cage building activities. All right, let's get this next one on here. So we got the second wall up. Now it's looking like this. You can kind of see the form of the cage taking place. Like I said, it's a pretty big cage, right? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close one side and I'm going to fold the other side open. I'm doing this because the next step that I'm going to do is put on the roof. It sounds bizarre, but I want to have the roof and the sides, the main large walls, done before I put on the other ones. Just simply trial and error, trying to jimmy a giant 36 by 30 roof and line it up with all four sides is such a pain. And I end up dropping J-clips into the middle and have no way to get in. Trust me, this is the way to go, as weird and out of order as it seems. So I'm going to grab that and I'll show you. Alright, so this is what that roof looks like. And the way I'm lining this up is I'm going to mirror the bottom. So essentially, it won't matter which is the top and the bottom in how we line it up. So I'm going to line this up here. So let's see here. There we go. And I'm going to start putting J-clips on this side, okay? Then I'll move over and put them on this side and we'll just have a square with no walls, and then we'll work on the walls from there. I'm going to get going on this. We did it! So far, we're on making good pace. I haven't yet screwed up a J-clip. I hope if you're doing this at the same point, you have also had supreme success. But this is what it will look like once you get the top and the bottom. If I could have a lovely assistant, this is also a wonderful time to call your nearest wife or child. I prefer my wife, my nearest wife, my dearest wife of 12 years. Hi.
Hi.
Happy anniversary. I actually don't need you, I was just calling you. Will you hold that for me? Now, the second, we have, I guess the third set of pieces would be the 30-inch by 20. So we're gonna have two of these, and you can kind of see there the end caps. They're gonna kind of slide in to this spot and have to be J-clipped in place. What I would recommend is go ahead and put a J-clip on each point of the corners. So you're gonna do two on each side. That way you at least have it and you don't have to have your lovely wife stand there and be uncomfortable. She can go back to doing beautiful things in other places.
Beautiful things!
And do it that way. But for the time being, will you hold that for me for just a moment?
Yep.
Like I said, you can use a regular set of needle nose pliers to do this. It is miserable. It is absolutely miserable. I tried it because someone recommended it on another channel, and this is the best $12 you will ever spend if you are gonna go through the cage building process. I kid you not, totally worth it. Plus, it's gonna save you a lot of J-clips by bending them straight instead of...
Right, it's gonna roll them correctly rather than having to mutilate them and then have to start over.
And really, the J-clip is just a flattened piece of aluminum. So it's...
It has a slight hook on the end.
It has it has a slight hook, but what I'm saying is if you put it on wrong, it makes it sharp. You're gonna put animals in this is their home. You really wanna stay away from sharp edges. And $12 in the grand scheme of life and pet raising.
Well, considering how many cages you can build.
Yeah, it's not gone, it's not used up. And so, yeah, spend the money and get a J-clip plier set. I just put on 8 J-clips in the time it took you to watch that, just a minute or two. And now I'll go ahead and go through and do all 4, but it's freestanding, and my lovely wife and bride can go back to doing her school supplies.
All right, you're welcome. Love you.
I love you. Here we are. We are moving on to the very last piece of this lovely beast. As you can see, I'm going to flip it so you can see the back side that I've just secured. And you can see it's obviously taking its final shape. No door, no bunny inside yet, but it's literally big enough for me to get inside and take a nap if I feel so inclined, right? The last piece for the exterior anyway is just exactly identical to that other side. It's a 20 by 30 and it is gonna slip on here. I'm gonna do exactly the same process, only this time I don't need my lovely assistant to help, but I'm gonna pinch all 4 corners and go ahead and do all, you can see on this side, I did the rows all the way around, top, bottom, and side, and the other side. So do the same on this one, and then we'll talk doors and next steps. Okay, it is time to put together our door. Now our door is going to be 15 by 15 piece of metal. This is the piece you cut earlier. The latch is just, these are usually ordered online for a few bucks, and this particular model we're using is designed to be a side latch. I found, just from experience, that we like the doors to kind of open this way rather than this way. It works better with our setup, less likely to get poked, so you kind of decide how you like it yourself. But I'm gonna show you how to put together a door that folds open and closed up here. Now, as you can see, this wire doesn't exactly fit, so there's a really easy trick for this that I'll show you after we get this thing all connected. Now the real question is, where are you gonna put this? Now I have marked in Sharpie, which you can't really see, the exact starting point for the top left corner of the door. I'm gonna count here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're gonna start cutting across all the way. Okay, this is gonna be a 13 by 13 hole. So in the 5th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in the 6th ring, that's where we're gonna begin here, and we're gonna cut down. We're gonna come all the way down here until this between the 2nd and 3rd bar. Okay, that 2nd and 3rd bar, we're gonna cut all the way across there until we got a 13-inch hole. I'll go ahead and cut this, and you can kind of see it come to life. There it is. All right. So now we got our 13 by 13 opening, right? Well, let's go ahead and set that over there. Obviously, we can't use this as the door because, number one, it's too small. There's no security. That was one of the learning things I tried. And it's too sharp on the edges. Very sharp, right? So we're going to use this 15 by 15. You can see it overlaps, right? We are going to hook this bottom part of the door to the very first row of wire. So it's going to sit right here below the door, just enough so it overlaps on each side by 1.5 rings or rows, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and clip these on, and then we'll talk about how to protect yourself from like scraping your arm on these hot and hard edges. Okay. All right, we got this all hooked up. I used basically the same process I did for all of these, about 2 inches or 4 bars across. So we got 6 or 7 actual J-clips holding this door on. It's gonna be quite secure. And so like I said, up at the top, it doesn't quite fit, right? You really gotta shove it in. So I have a really easy trick for you. All you gotta do is take your pliers and you just kind of do one of these and you bend it out a little bit, and it will literally just make the perfect indentation. Allow that to open. Super simple, real easy. Now, if you were putting that door on sideways, you wouldn't have to worry about that because it's already tall enough. Our problem was just how we had our cages set up. We just didn't have the room for it. Didn't want that hanging out and swinging out. So this works perfectly for us. We're gonna zoom in real quick for you so you can see how this latch here is connected. This latch is just, once again, J-clipped, but because it will slip around when it's put together, it's gonna take 2 here, 2 here, and 1 on the cross beam. Otherwise, this latch would just slide up and down and really not be secure. So it takes 5 J-clips for this whole latch system. Not that much. J-clips are not expensive, and throughout the whole project, obviously, you're gonna wanna use as many J-clips as it takes to make it secure. Now, let's talk about safety. You have animals with thin skin, and you have arms going in and out of this cage very, very often. You want to make sure you're not getting scratched up. These are not ground down, and there's really no way to grind it down in a way that makes it truly unscratchable, right? And so they make these cage like wire covers, and we got them pre-cut in lengths of just under 14 inches. So, I mean, obviously you can see this is going to fit just about perfect in these areas, and they can be cut to exactly the right size with just a pair of wire snips. I'm going to go ahead and put these on. You'll see just how easy this is. Now, I can bang my arm all over and not worry about getting cut. That's lovely. Now, second part is this is opening and closing. You're going to want to cover this as well. Presto. Hook it up and it's all done. So there you have your final cage. This is a 36 by 30 doe cage. We're using it as a grow out, and Should we call Amanda? Just have her come in here? Here we are.
We're here. So, excuse me, getting over a cold, guys. So, David has worked his tail off getting this cage built and ready to go. At this point, we are listing the 3 remaining babies that we have because we are trying to recoup our initial startup cost of getting our rabbits, to pay for our original breeding stock, to pay for the materials of the cages and the racks, and also to pay for their food. So we're trying to get all those initial startup costs covered. And
if we can do that, with 1 litter, we will cover that entire cost.
Yes.
Which is pretty awesome. I mean,
yeah, it is.
How many things can you say that about? I don't know. Maybe you can say that about a lot of things, but I think that's pretty cool.
It is really cool because from that point on, if we only need to sell 1 baby out of every litter or whatever to cover feed costs, that's essentially a free meat source because you've already covered all the costs of all the materials that you've used. So that is a very efficient meat source for, especially an urban homestead where you are really limited in what kind of animals you can grow out for meat.
This is very true.
So that's pretty exciting. It's a great development. We're really excited about it. We'll see. At this point, our business plan with the rabbits is we're going to see how many we can sell out of every litter because it will be more valuable to sell them and accrue some money from them versus just butchering all of them and having that potential financial gain being lost.
It's kind of interesting. You think about what does a rabbit go for as a pet, and when there's a market for it and you could sell a standard Rex rabbit for like $40 or something like that, that's a pretty sizable amount of money to be bringing in for the input that you put into it. At the same time, it is a meat source, but is it worth $40 of meat for 1 rabbit? Probably not, but it's a free meat source. So you kind of have to weigh, are we doing this for the meat or for the money? Really, we're in it for the experience, and whether the money or the meat comes, we're gonna enjoy the process of
right.
it.
Yeah, our original breeder that had our other rabbits was saying that she had that same kind of business plan. She sells what she can and she butchers what she can't sell. And she hasn't had to butcher a rabbit in over a year because she just sells all of them.
I think the pandemic has kind of got people really reevaluating how they look at the meat and the world overall. We saw
food in general.
Your bread video, which I'm sure we can tag, just blew up because people are suddenly interested in, oh my goodness, I have to figure out how to make bread at home. I have to
because there was no bread on the store shelves.
It just made people realize the food industry leaves something to be desired when it comes to sustainability. And so the more sustainable you can be in your own home, in the city, in the country, wherever you find yourself, it's going to be an opportunity for you to take 1 more step towards being self-sustaining. And that's kind of the goal that we were doing as we started this.
Continue to follow us to see what's going to happen with these remaining 3 babies. Are we going to sell them? Are we going to eat them? We don't know yet. So, but yeah.
They're really cute.
They are cute.
I mean, it's
they'll
gonna be
also make great pelts.
Ooh, might be hopefully we don't have to do a DIY on pelts yet. But this is your urban nerd with a goat herd.
It is.
She's been married for 12 years.
I have.
Today.
Yes.
To a very lucky man. And I'm her muscle.
Yes.
I am her second better half. The lesser of 2 better halves.
Anyway.
But we are here telling you, you can grow
where you're planted.